walk me through typical process with your customer. I think you've said before that it's like a 3-day process. You will actually follow live birds into slaughter, into processing, and then you take a look at the carcasses and so forth.
We schedule this in advance so that our customers' significant management people are present, including the veterinarian that works for the company. And we then go to the farm and walk through the house, assess the housing conditions, assess the flock health conditions, which includes litter, feed consumption, mortality. So we're looking at that flock live. We get this idea of what the birds look like before they go to the processing plant, before they go to market. And then when they go to market, that's the area that I'm assessing. And there are several areas that I look at. Feed withdrawal is one of them. Sanitary dressing, that whole process of preparing the bird from a live bird into a marketable bird that goes in the bag or goes to cut up, and the condemnations. And the reason that we look at this comprehensively or holistically is that what happens in the field affects what goes on in the plant. What happens at the farm affects what goes on in the plant and how well those birds process. And so you want to have a bird that has a good flock health program that minimizes all of the things that contribute to the increase of Salmonella and Campylobacter recovery in the plant. So you want to have a good intestinal health program, a good respiratory program, which again is Dr. Keck's area. It's that affects the area that I work in because that affects condemnations.
A few of the things that we tried to do was look at some key parameters that we could look at that were pretty easily collected. And then, and some of this has been a learning process as we go. And one of those things is we weigh birds. Now, birds are weighed for different reasons in the poultry industry to achieve a target weight on breeder pullets and so on. Broilers sometimes to predict, do you have the right size or weight bird that was go to the processing plant. But one of the things we started looking at were coefficients of variation. Basically, how many big birds, how many small birds within this flock. And I think we found some things with that, and a good number would be around 15%. So that would be the top, and then anything less than that. And we typically see probably from 10 to 30%, sometimes a wide range. And depending on the graph and depending on the weights and this coefficient of variation, we're starting to think we can even predict that these birds going in are not arriving at the plant in the best possible condition. We take that information back, and in some instances we think that we can tell where the problem happened on the live side. So that's a way to work backwards, do some troubleshooting, figure out, is it a hatchery problem? Is it a problem that happened actually on the farm, maybe with management or a disease process or whatever? That's an example of taking some of these parameters, looking at them differently, trying to collect enough data to say we think we can make some predictions based off this information by taking a bigger look. The other part is, I think just the process itself, processing and live have always been two departments in general.
Two profit centers altogether.
Two profit centers within a company. And what this does, I mean, we invite anybody from processing to go to the field. We usually start out with a meeting and kind of get the lay of the land, so to speak, and what they perceive some of the problems to be. And then they're welcome to go to the field. We really try to insist that the live guys follow us and go back to the plant, watch the birds that we see in the field, we'd see the next day in the plant. And just that whole process kind of links these two things together and gets people talking to each other that sometimes haven't been used to doing that in the past.
And Joe, it's important that the live production personnel have a good working relationship with the processing establishment personnel, because the processing establishment personnel, in a sense, are their customers. And so it's important that they meet that customer's needs, which is a bird that's uniform, that has proper feed withdrawal, so that when it's slaughtered at the processing plant, all of that operation goes as smoothly as possible, because that's what minimizes fecal contamination. And these organisms of interest we're talking about, which is the Salmonella and the Campylobacter, are enteric organisms, meaning they live in the intestine. So minimizing that kind of contamination is really important. And that goes back to what happens into the flock in the house as they're growing, making sure that those programs are as effective as possible so that the best bird arrives at the processing plant. And then once it arrives at the processing plant, the production people need to be coming to the processing plant because they need to be assessing the quality of their product that they're just sold to their customer. It's important that FSIS personnel realize that somebody is concerned about what's being condemned, and just the fact that there's an interest in it helps keep that inspection team focused on making good, sound condemnation decisions.